Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Nootropics Podcast.
I mean, look, being an entrepreneur, I would not go through the rest of my life without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, Paracetam, Oxiracetam, uridine monophosphate, CDP-choline, modafinil, Noopept, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Nootropics Podcast is about to begin.
I'm your host, Ryan Michael Ballo, and guess what? In this podcast, we are going to talk about one of the best racetams there is because it doesn't exclusively stimulate you, right, or turn on, at least exclusively neuronal excitability in order to get the person to have a nootropic response. But it does two major things. It works on improving the brain by calming it down, right? By inhibiting certain functions, right? By inhibiting depressive mental states and turning on, a better functional fluid mood. And by engaging in, acetylcholine modulation and glutamate receptor modulation to turn on neuronal excitability. This is one of the most powerful, one of the most unique, a true powerful nootropic. One of the most powerful racetams there is, Fasoracetam, my friends, coming up. But preliminary stuff out of the way. Look, it is the 12th of August, 12th or 13th of August. This is right around when this podcast is going to launch. And listen, we just launched the mighty Racetam God Guide. That is a guide which explains all the major racetams, to include Fasoracetam, how to sublingually dose them, how to orally dose them how to orally dose them as standalones, and how to orally dose them and sublingually dose them with a combination of other nootropics. In other words, the most popular, most relevant, most applicable, in the interest of nootropics, current, known racetams, 8 major racetams: phenylparacetam, oxiracetam, aniracetam, paracetam, fasoracetam, pramiracetam, nepharacetam, etc., and their accompanying stacks and their accompanying sublingual nootropic protocols. Get that at livecortex.com. We put it all together. These are stacks that I've sort of distilled over just about 9 years, taking nootropics, taking racetams, taking all these racetams, figuring out what the best racetam stacks are, what the best things to stack these racetams with to get very particular brain states. I mean, we've got stacks to turn on verbal fluency, mental energy, focus. Then we've got stacks to turn on an anxiolytic response and then to allow the person to have just a good solid mental fluidity. Then we've got solid motivation and powerful mental energy stacks. Then we've got modafinil-like racetam stacks. Everything you can think of in the Racetam God Guide, the ultimate guide to the Racetam nootropics, stacking Racetam nootropics, sublingually dosing racetams, and everything else you can think of related to the most powerful nootropics, the granddaddy class of nootropics, the most popular, some of the most effective nootropics on the planet in the Racetam God Guide. Get it at livecortex.com. Don't wait. Get it. It's a digital download. You can have it forever. Read it right away. Use the stacks, but most of all, benefit from them. If you've not tried the Cortex Nootropic Stack, look, we created a stack, a natural stack that's comparable to some of the strongest racetams and the strongest drugs out there. This stack is being compared to modafinil in many users' eyes. That's what we tried to do. Look, we figured out you could combine uridine, CDP-choline, artichoke extract, and bacopa monnieri in very particular quantities to reach a modafinil-like state, a very, very powerful fluid, mental energy, focus, motivation, verbal fluency, speed of processing, brain state. Get the Cortex stack at livecortex.com. Use the coupon code 5, save $5 off, and then also a general nootropics guide. It's basically like, we've got the Racetam guide. We talk about very specific it's just racetams. But we also wrote a book called Smarter, Better, Faster, which is a surgical guide to using nootropics for total mental dominance. It's like you get your pick, man. Get all 3 of these things and then you're really amped up, or get one of 3. Like, we've got so many good nootropic products, so much value in these products, it's insane. But the Smarter, Better, Faster guide is an all-around, it's basically my stacks. It's my favorite nootropics. It's my advice on taking nootropics, right? It's stacking strategies. It's cycling strategies. It's, mixing racetams. It's modafinil, caffeine, theanine protocols. This is the nootropics protocol book. It is insane, extremely powerful, super valuable. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster, a digital guide. You can download or read it on iPad, iPhone, Kindle, just like the Racetam God Guide. Get those products at livecortex.com. Okay, Fasoracetam. So look, I didn't really start experimenting with Fasoracetam until a couple years ago. It was kind of one of the later racetams on my list. But basically the first time that I took it, I was like, wow, I have not only, number one, been missing out, but number two, wow. I've got to further experiment with this. You'll find, like in people's anecdotal experiences of taking Fasoracetam, that right away, they respond super positively to it. They identify, wait a minute, this is not like other Racetam nootropics, and this is not like any other nootropic. And that, the most predictable brain performance outcome that people get that makes them so impressed about it is that they get a good, solid anxiolytic calm, which facilitates a good, solid focus. And then they've got working memory, verbal fluency, speed of processing, all these upgrades as a result, both of, the calming effects of Fasoracetam and the anxiolytic effects of the Fasoracetam, and then the cholinergic, the high affinity choline uptake, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and some of the other mechanisms like binding to glutamate receptors. So let's talk about the mechanisms real quick. Then we'll talk about dose range, then we'll talk about some stacks. Fasoracetam does a few interesting things. Number one, it binds to GABA B receptors. So, what this has been shown to do, and there's many other studies because there's a bunch of different names for Fasoracetam. I think NS105. Let me just make sure I'm right on that. I believe NS105. Yes, NS-105 is one of the other names where you can find a lot of the studies on Fasoracetam. But binding to GABA B receptors and its particular action on GABA receptors has a powerful, documented, noted, demonstratively evident way of reversing depressive mental states. I mean, taking folks out of depressive states and putting them in places where they feel good and they've got an enhanced mood. That's part of why Fasoracetam improves brain performance for people. Because, look, the bottom line is, like, one of the greatest parts about, like, something like L-theanine, for example, the amino acid, is, its ability to increase brain serotonin and brain GABA. It also partially gets the brain to release a little more dopamine, puts the brain in an alpha brainwave state. But for a lot of folks, depending on their brain chemistry, for most folks, like, it induces a good solid calm enough to really put the brain in place where it can focus. So that's the benefit of having this. When you can increase your mood, the feelings of pleasantness, like a better, more specific way to describe it would be feelings of pleasantness, feelings of contentness, like a good, solid happiness, a feeling of general happiness. There's a lot of good, solid synergistic brain function that can take place, and as a result, a lot of productive output. So that's one of the main mechanisms of Fasoracetam. The other is that it binds as an agonist to the three major glutamate metabotropic receptors, and that turns on neuronal excitability. Basically, it allows glutamate, the excitatory neurotransmitter, to function better. But the other thing that it does, which makes it, separate from other Racetam, still in conjunction with how it works on GABA B receptors, is that just like Racetam, this might be the only Racetam that it's really like in terms of mechanisms of action. It increases high affinity choline uptake. So it basically just improves the brain's ability to draw in choline, the complex B vitamin, the B vitamin in the B family, choline, and then for neurons to synthesize that choline into usable acetylcholine. So it's a combination of turning down depression, right? Turning down unpleasantness, making the brain feel good, content, and happy, turning on pleasantness, and also inhibiting sort of, excessive, what might be excessive function from perhaps other neurotransmitters, but excessive anxiety in general, while stimulating the production of acetylcholine via drawing choline into neurons for acetylcholine synthesis and turning on good, solid, stimulatory, functional brain performance, particularly involved in memory. I think looking at glutamate's so hardcore involved in memory. I think that the Fasoracetam's capacity to bind to these glutamate receptors is more than likely facilitative of the good, functional, actual nootropic working memory, speed of processing, verbal fluency, brain function result that you get from taking Fasoracetam. So those are the mechanisms. This is one of the most impressive Racetams there is because it's got all this stuff going on. It's not just like, hey, it cranks you up. Like some of these, a lot of other Racetams are like Anharacetam is just like, whoop, okay, stimulatory central, stacks well with caffeine, stacks well with theacrine, stacks well with the uridine, stacks well with other stimulatory stuff. This is unique in that it's basically doing a whole bunch of things, binding to GABA receptors, turning on excitability and improving the way your brain synthesizes acetylcholine. It's almost like, look, not a stimulant, but still a brain performance enhancing compound. That's Fasoracetam. That's the mechanisms. Let's talk about dose range. Dose range on Fasoracetam is really 5 milligrams on the low end to about 50 milligrams on the high end. It's almost identical to the dose range, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I've been able to experiment to get the best results as Colaracetam. And one of the great things about that dose range, oh, and by the way, the more specific dose range for people, they're going to find, I think a lot of people are going to find the best dose range between 10 and 25 milligrams, somewhere in that range. You can even get more specific than that and go 10 to 15 or even 5 to 15, but folks are going to have to experiment and see where they're at. But the best thing about Fasoracetam, and racetams that require such low doses, I guess in ascending order, of dose quantity, you got Fasoracetam, Colaracetam, then phenylpiracetam, is convenience. We did a video on this recently. We were just talking about the massive convenience. One of the most convenient racetams there is Colaracetam. But Fasoracetam's, either even or a close second, because these things can be taken in such low doses, and you can dose them sublingually. So think about how easy that is, right? 10 milligrams of sublingual Colaracetam compared to the complexity and the time spent on dosing 1,000 milligrams of oxiracetam, 180 milligrams of alpha GPC, and like 5 milligrams of impostatine or something, right? Trying to put together a good oxiracetam stack. It's like, and even sublingual dosing. What do you want to do? Put 700 milligrams of oxiracetam under your tongue and let it sit for 5 minutes? People do that. I do it. Folks do it, but these are way more convenient. The Fasoracetam and Colaracetam are just super convenient racetams in that regard. Let me talk about my experience with Fasoracetam, just so I can give you the in-depth explanation of how it makes me feel and operate, and then we'll talk about stacks, what you can stack it with, and then we'll close out the podcast. Okay, so the first thing that happens to me, the moment, probably within 5 or 10 minutes after taking Fasoracetam, and my dose is, my dose range is basically 5 to 20 milligrams, and I like to stick with 10 to 15, and, I'll be on the higher end of that if I'm dosing it orally, and I'll be on the lower end of that if I'm dosing it sublingually. Within about 15 minutes from the dose, if I'm doing it sublingually a little quicker, 8-9 minutes, I start to notice this. The first thing that happens, it almost seems to happen simultaneously, but the first noticeable thing that seems to happen is my entire brain calms down. I might have been like, I am a high-paced guy. My brain's always working really quickly. I'm always processing stuff. I wake up in the middle of the night processing stuff. It's always trying to process. The unconscious mind is processing when I'm not trying to have it process. It's really a marvel. I love it. I've been meditating for years. I've been taking nootropics for years. I've got a good, solid, active, interested brain. My brain is interested in stuff. And I got to tell you, folks, as an aside, there's no other way to be but to be interested in things in life, man. Just to be interested. Get it, be that nerdy science kid that's into something, into stuff, into creating things, into getting better, into improving your mind. That's the best way. And so my mind's always like that. But the moment that the Fasoracetam starts to work its mighty magic on me, I just begin to feel, I don't want to say phenibut-like anxiolytic, because it's definitely not like that, but a nice, smooth, functional calm. Just a good, solid calm, right? That allows my brain to work better and my working memory to work better because I'm calm. That's the first thing that I feel. A very nice, good, solid calm that's not overpowering or sedating, like high-dose valerian root or something would be, or other GABA A and B receptor modulators like benzos or phenibut. But a good, I retain the capacity to be good and functional, but I'm nice and calm and I feel good. And I've got a great mood benefit from this. The mood benefit from Fasoracetam, you'll find folks' anecdotal experiences match up to this, is very, very powerful. Number 2, more than likely because of its work on acetylcholine synthesis via increasing high affinity choline uptake into neurons, and its work on glutamate receptors, facilitating, excitatory stimulation of the brain. I then get a nice, good, solid background of brain function. Right, it's almost like a paracetam-like brain function, where it's not like oxiracetam or aniracetam, where it's very, very stimulatory. It's just highly functional. It's just highly, highly functional in terms of brain performance. So I've got better working memory, no question about it. Memory works better. Pulling things in and out of memory, pulling things in and out of working memory I/O. It's a thing that aniracetam works very well on. Speed of processing seems to be good, but because I have a fluid brain, I don't necessarily want to engage in a whole lot of quick stuff. In fact, with Fasoracetam, I kind of want to take it a little slower, but my brain's working so good that I have the capacity to be fast if I need to. That's one of those interesting states that I think a lot of folks can resonate, that a lot of folks resonate with and go, hey, I've been there too. And then all the other things that you might think are, associated with and end up being associated with like a good solid working memory, verbal fluency, speed of processing. Like, you might get a motivation to work as a result of that, right? You might just sort of feel content about what's going on. You might be able to do some sort of QuickBooks. Like, for those of you who don't know, QuickBooks is like is an accountant. It's like a business metrics financial institution accounting program, like where it tracks all your transactions, your outgoing expenses, and does reports, and you can analyze stuff. It's easier to do that kind of work when taking Fasoracetam because of these benefits on memory and speed of processing and all this other stuff. So the effects for me are, it enhances my mood. It's a profound anxiolytic, but not comparable in a good way to phenibut, because phenibut's, frankly, higher dose phenibut's a little sedating for me. I have to take lower doses of the stuff. And so it provides a good, anxiolytic response and keeps me feeling really good without it kind of shutting off my capacity to function good, while it's got this sort of undertone of consistent, good functional flow of brain performance, working memory, verbal fluency, speed of processing, right? And as a result, motivation. That's the effects that I get from Fasoracetam. All right, let's talk about one sublingual Fasoracetam stack, and then we're going to give you 2 more regular oral Fasoracetam stacks. These stacks are directly from the Racetam God Guide Nootropics book. Just to give you an idea of the power of this guide, the Racetam God Guide, which is, again, a digital guide you can download. It gives you everything you need to know about all the major racetams, the 8 primary racetams, sublingual dosing, protocol, stacking them with everything you can think of, from aniracetam to vinpocetine to triacetyleuridine to alpha-GPC to tyrosine, to theanine, to theacrine, to centrofenoxine, everything else you can think of. Racetam God Guide, get it at livecortex.com. Okay, so here is the sublingual stack, the first sublingual stack, a very powerful Fasoracetam sublingual stack, okay? It's 30 milligrams sublingual Fasoracetam, okay? 30 milligrams sublingual Fasoracetam, 10 milligrams of Noopept. All right, this is going to be a strongly anxiolytic, working memory, verbal fluency, and ease of work stack. It's not going to be particularly stimulatory, but it will allow you to effortlessly enjoy a work session, or frankly, a session of doing anything you love to do, like music or sitting down and doing something that really just turns your brain on. If it's gaming for you, hey, it's a great gaming stack. Whatever it is, you're going to love it. You're going to have a good, solid anxiolytic background with a good functional working memory, and an ease of work stack. This is the type of stack that you just want to sit down and do something, and you will be in a great place to do it. You're not going to be overly stimulated, but your brain is going to be working pretty profoundly. Okay, number 2, this is an oral Fasoracetam stack, not a sublingual Fasoracetam stack, okay? And this, again, comes directly from the Racetam God Guide, which you can get at livecortex.com. 15 milligrams Fasoracetam, that's oral Fasoracetam. 500 milligrams aniracetam, okay, because Fasoracetam, as an aside, stacks incredibly well with a lot of other racetams, aniracetam included, but you take the dose down just a little bit compared to the regular dose range on aniracetam, which is 700 milligrams. 200 milligrams of alpha-GPC. That is a high choline source, high choline content acetylcholine precursor, which also aids in phospholipid synthesis and increases growth hormone. It's like a thing for workout people or people that lift weights. And then stacked with it is 400 milligrams of L-theanine. That's the last part of the stack. 400 milligrams of L-theanine. This stack has a great mood lifting and brain clearing effect. What's particularly cool about the stack is it clears the brain. You know how you might just have gunk in the brain, whatever's going on, you're not metabolizing glucose correctly, or you've got some environmental toxins, maybe you're dealing with some alcohol you drank the night before and your liver's dealing with it, and there's byproducts being released, and those are fussing with your neurons. Everyday toxins are out there fussing with your neurons. In one condition or another, or you didn't sleep well. This has it's like a whoosh effect for me. That's why I included the stack in the God Guide. That's why I'm including it for you guys here, because it's a brain clearing stack. But it also has an emphasis on working memory, stimulation via the both those things via the aniracetam, and creativity via really the Fasoracetam aniracetam combination. As an aside, trying to give you as much value as possible. If you take Fasoracetam with aniracetam, it's powerful for stimulation and creativity. Because of the calming effects of Fasoracetam and then the stimulatory effects of the aniracetam. Okay, that is the stack to tackle a creative task. Okay, last stack. Very, very powerful stack. Last Fasoracetam stack. 25 milligrams Fasoracetam. 1,000 milligrams oxiracetam. Talking about stimulatory. 300 milligrams alpha GPC. Okay, this stack is turning up the release in your brain of acetylcholine very considerably, and will be a very strong focus stack with the complements of working memory, but with a powerful background control, calm, and anxiolytic effect. That's the beauty of Fasoracetam. You could stack it with other stimulatory racetams, get the stimulation, but keep a good background calm. Almost like the notion, just the idea behind caffeine and theanine, where theanine acts as the great balancer and caffeine is the stimulatory agent. Okay, so use those stacks. Take those stacks, apply those stacks. As with any stack suggestions that we give out, I want to sort of just put out the caveat that not every stack, even refined over many years, which those stacks are applicable to every human, every 7 billion humans on the planet. So know that you might have to titrate the doses. But in these particular cases, make sure you titrate your doses in very, very small increments. You want to do it in small increments because that's the only way you're going to know what works best for you. Do it one ingredient at a time. So like if you've got Fasoracetam, oxiracetam, and alpha GPC in a stack, and you want to change the ingredient quantities to get a better effect, don't change all three of them at once. If you're at 25 milligrams Fasoracetam, 1,000 milligrams oxiracetam, and 300 milligrams alpha GPC, and you're running into you feel like it's not affecting you well, you kind of made you a little dull, or there's some brain fog there, take the alpha GPC down 100 milligrams, leave everything else the same, then go from there, right? Or that's a hypothetical, but that would probably be the case in that situation because higher dose alpha GPC tends to at least give people side effects if they're not used to it, if their brain doesn't need it, or if they don't got a racetam burning it up. So make sure that you change not only in individual ingredient differences and variations, but make sure that your increments in milligram quantity are very small. Okay, that has been the podcast. It's funny because Fasoracetam, how we explain Fasoracetam and the Racetam Nootropics God guide is Fasoracetam, the anxiolytic full brain enhancement racetam, because that's what it does. That's what it does. When I stumbled upon it, I was like, man, this and Coloracetams. I was like, these are just different. These are not like other racetams. They're not. The mechanisms of action are totally different. That's why, right? This Fasoracetam has a special place, in my plastic bin that I keep in a relatively temperature-controlled environment with a bunch of nootropics in it. It's got a special place in that bin, guys. A special place in my heart. A special place in my mind. And an epic place on the wall of fame, of the power of all the various nootropic compounds out there. If you have not tried the Cortex Nootropic Stack, okay, get the Cortex Stack at livecortex.com. That is our powerful stack that combines uridine monophosphate, CDP choline, artichoke extract, and Bacopa monnieri for a powerful, synergistic frontal lobe motivation, speed of processing, and mental energy nootropics experience. If you have not gotten the Smarter, Better, Faster guide, that's the everything guide. It's my stacks distilled over just about 9 years of taking nootropics, a list of powerful stacks, very, very powerful stacks. The protocols that really an advanced nootropic user uses, right? Modafinil, caffeine, theanine protocols. Powerful neurogenic uridine, CDP choline, Alcar, and B vitamin nootropic protocols. Paracetam, caffeine, theanine protocols, smart aniracetam, the smart aniracetam stack, the ANR micro protocol. These are very, very specific, very, very advanced, very, very surgical nootropic protocols that you can take right away to get exceptional brain performance. We explain it all in the Smarter, Better, Faster book. Get it at livecortex.com. And look, talk about racetams. The Racetam God guide is everything you need to know, plus super advanced stacks sublingually and otherwise on all the major racetams. We've got sublingual phenylparacetam Fasoracetam combinations in there. These are super powerful stacks that turn on basically every mode of brain function you can think of. The thing is powerful. Get it all at livecortex.com. Thank you so much for listening. Check us out on YouTube if you're not listening to this on YouTube. At the Cortex Labs, Nootropics, and Smart Drugs channel. Check us out on the web at livecortex.com. Our blog, livecortex.com/blog, is the most robust source of content on the web for nootropics. The combination of that and our YouTube channel and these podcasts gives you everything. Get powerful nootropic products at livecortex.com. And hey, guys, thanks for being with me. Thanks for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Please review the podcast on iTunes if you're listening to this on iTunes. And hey, rock on, and remember, your brain can always get better. And the difference between, somebody who's just strolling through life and somebody who's really making the best of it is mental performance. We'll talk to you next time.